Hey guys, coming back at you with another Gear Talk Tuesday. So today we're going to be talking bass, and specifically Marcus Miller basses by Sire. Okay, so getting started, this is my bass of choice for use in Kaali for the recording of the EP. You'll see it's pretty basic, a jazz bass. You know, the jazz bass invented in the 60s and made famous by players such as Jaco Pastorius and Marcus Miller, Stanley Clarke, many famous jazz players have used the jazz bass. But it has a big history in punk music as well, from Paul Simonon, from The Clash, you know, all the way to modern bassists now even using multi-scale versions of this very kind of bass guitar. Now you'll notice I don't have a Fender. Now you might buy into the whole thing of, you know, price equals money, but the real argument here is that this bass guitar really connects with me, and at any price point you can find that. And I will tell you how to take any bass guitar as long as it's got a few simple things. This bass is an active bass. Bodywood is maple as well as the neck. Fretboard is rosewood, so we've got a maple neck with a rosewood fretboard. It's made in Indonesia. Yeah, these are no-name brand tunes. It has string through here, and I always use string through. I see it provides a lot more sustain. Collaboration with Marcus Miller, the famous bassist, and Sire bass guitars, which is a Korean company. Thinking of a design of bass and like how they could take the jazz bass and make an affordable jazz bass that also appealed to professional players, either as a backup bass or for people that are living in conditions that they simply cannot afford $1,000, $2,000 instrument, but they still need quality. Exactly the camp I would fall into. I don't see the point in having a really expensive bass guitar if I'm going to be sweating all over it all night, and I can get the same tone out of this thing. And this one has served me well for rock gigs to metal gigs. It actually also played at a folk evening, you know, so from all tonal varieties, active and passive, this bass is really killing it. And we play in BEAD, which means that a 34-inch bass guitar is fine, and I just keep coming back to it. And I think as a modern metal bass player, this is something to listen to. I think that the jazz bass, because of its thin neck profile and way you can really attack it, it just really, and this mid-range growl it has, where everything, you know, in our signal paths from this point is now very scooped, it really adds a lot of punch, and I was more than happy to use it for our recording. How do we take a simple bass like this you can find in any any music store across Asia for about $400? How do we take this and make it useful for metal? It's very simple basically. We have a few points here on the board that I've made, where first and foremost you're going to want fresh strings. Like if you want that bright clanky tone that's really, you know, like that is pretty much the norm these days and what's expected of bassists to have in metal, you need fresh strings. The rest of these points aren't going to help if you haven't got fresh strings, because you're just going to end up with a dull sound that might be great if you're playing Motown or some soft sort of music. Some guys gravitate towards it. Famous example would be Alice in Chains bassist, I forget his name right now, but he famously hates changing strings. Again, that's your tonal preference. Mine specifically would be as bright as it comes, get some super bright strings. Like I said before, we just tune to B standard. So I can get away with having a 5-string set and taking away that G, just going B, A, D. But depending on your style of music and your tuning, you're going to go with thicker or thinner strings depending on your situation. For instance, if this was in drop A, I'd want to go up to about 140 or 145 on that low string.